So as the definition, every word of this definition is essential. When I ask you to say the definition of the shock, you have to just explain word by word. Shock is a systemic state of low tissue perfusion, which is inadequate for normal cellular respirations with insufficient delivery of oxygen and glucose. Cells switch from aerobic to anaerobic metabolism. If perfusion is not restored in timely fashion, cell death ensues. You cannot remove a single word from this definition. Complete definition is very important to know from starting. What is shock, how it develops, what is main pathology is going on, and if you have not corrected within time, then what will happen. This definition has complete things. Shock is a systemic state of low tissue perfusion which is inadequate for the normal cellular respirations with insufficient delivery of glucose and oxygen. Cells switch from aerobic to anaerobic metabolism. If perfusion is not restored in a timely fashion, cell death ensues. So complete phenomena of the shock is happening at different level in the body. This phenomena is happening starting from the cellular level and the tissue level and the systemic level. So what exactly is going on the different levels simultaneously? We will discuss one by one that how this process is going on in cellular level, what is going on in the microvascular or the tissue level, and what is going on the systemic level. So first on the cellular level, what happens, as we already said, shock means when a body has hypoperfusion. This means the cellular perfusion is low, so that the cells are not getting oxygen and glucose. So what happens when the cells are run down with the oxygen and glucose? Then normally the respiration happening, that is aerobic respiration, means that is on which the oxygen is used, that is called aerobic respiration. When oxygen is finished, because oxygen is very less supply, tissue is hypoperfused, cells are not getting oxygens, then they switch their mode of respirations from aerobic to anaerobic mode. So we all know in the aerobic respirations, where the the product of the respiration is not carbon dioxide, but that is the lactic acids. We already had we already know all these things in the physiology. In first year you all have learned. So when you know that lactic acid, this anaerobic respiration is different from the aerobic, that aerobic used oxygen and produce more ATPs, while the in aerobic respirations it produce the lactic acid and produce very less ATPs. So with this anaerobic respiration, there is a formation of the lactic acids that accumulates in the cells, and that causes the metabolic acidosis because of the collection of these lactic acids. When there is when and this is happening till the glucose present in our cells. When the glucose is finished, exhausted, then this respiratory phenomenon cease. There is no further production of the ATPs, either aerobic. It means aerobic, though it was finished previously. Now the anaerobic also is finished because the glucose is finished. So when the glucose is finished, then there is a no source of energies. So the sodium potassium pump, which is actively and actively just taking and giving the nutritions to inside and outside the cells. That is the intracellular movement, whatever that done through the cells is, that is by the sodium potassium pump that requires the ATPs. If when the glucose is finished, then no ATP, that is means there is a complete stoppage of the sodium potassium pump. So when the sodium potassium pump fails, then what happens? The intracellular lysosomes that become activated. The lysosomes are the, you know, all what is lysosome is present in the cells because the lytic enzymes, the digestive enzymes. So when the this in the sodium potassium pump stops, this intracellular lysosomes activated, and this start digesting the cells, that own cells. It means the cells digested itself, means the cell the wall is dissolved, and so that all the intracellular contents, all those minerals, what that lactic acids, whatever the excretes is, which should be throughout from out of the cells to the sodium potassium pump, that all with just all the intracellular contents are released into the bloodstream. So these potassium is very important. Especially mentioning the potassium, we discuss later why, and other intracellular contents are released into the bloodstream. So this is happening in the cellular level. When the cells run down from the oxygens, then they shift their aerobic respiration to the anaerobic respirations. Anaerobic respiration will goes till the glucose present. When the glucose is finished, then sodium potassium pump stops. That activates that stopping of the sodium potassium pump, that activates the intracellular lysosomes, so that dissolve the cells and means the death of the cells, and all the intracellular contents comes into the bloodstreams. This is happening in the cellular level. At the same time, what is happening at the tissue level? Similarly, as one cell is whatever occurring in the one cells, that that phenomena is happening to the complete tissue. So what happens when the tissue underwent in the hypoperfusions, means the ischemia? So that changes the local environment because there is a hypoxia, the less oxygen in that tissue. So due to less oxygen in that tissue, this activation of the immune and coagulation system, that is activation of the inflammations. We already discussed in the inflammations how the inflammation starts when the tissue went into the hypoxia. When the tissue went into the hypoxia, then the immune system and the coagulative system is, activates, and the platelets start secreting the different growth factors, and the secreting histamines and the cytokinins, and these immune cells, means the lymphocytes, all this start just attracting to that site, that site of the tissue. So that these, due to this release of the cytokinins and free radicals, causes injury to the capillary and endothelial cells. So that endothelial cells loses its integrity because and becomes leakage. We already discussed all these things in the inflammation. The same process is happening there. Or when the tissue get this ischemia, this inflammatory cells comes and then release the platelet cells starts secreting different growth factors and different type of cytokines, histamines. So due to these chemicals, this increases the permeability of these capillaries. So these capillaries become leaky, and the some tissue that exudation of that fluids from the intra vascular compartments come to the extravascular compartments, and that tissue becomes edematous. So this space between endothelial cells allow fluid to leak outside the tissue and causes the edema, and that process further increase the hypoxia, cellular hypoxia, because outside the cells there is a fluid and there is a edema, and that includes some intracellular fluids, because you already said in cellular level what happens that when the cell is dies, all the intracellular things are flowing to the blood. Now these, due to the use of the capillaries, all that material are exposing to into the tissue. Due to that edema, complete tissue is inflamed, and that further uh, increase the hypoxias. So this is happening in the tissue level, means that complete that tissue start swelling and start damaging. Now one by one, what is happening in the systemic level? In the cardiovascular system, there are four important systems which are mainly affected in the shock. Later on, every system is affected, but initially these four systems: cardiovascular system, respiratory system, renal system, and the endocrine system. So what happened in the cardiovascular system? So as you know, due to that shock, the preload and afterload, either preload or afterload decreases. Preload means whatever the fluid is coming to the heart, that is preload, and afterload, whatever the fluid is throwing by the heart to the whole body, that is afterload. So in the shock conditions, either preload, either afterload, one must be decreased. So due to this decrease in the afterload or the preload, there is a compensatory baroreceptor response project, that baroreceptors present in the long large vessels. These increase these means that due to having less oxygen in the blood, due to this hypoxia conditions, the compensatory mechanism starts. So what is the compensatory mechanism? That compensatory mechanism is the start activation of the our sympathetic system, and that sympathetic system uh, increases, activates, and at the same time it releases the catecholamine. These catecholamines are the chemicals which are releases in the blood when there is a less oxygen in the blood, so that our complete body is activated, means one kind of the alarm system. So our sympathetic system is completely activated to fight these situations. So how the cardiovascular system responds to these situations? It increases the heart rates, tachycardia, and at the same time it increases the systemic vasoconstrictions. So due to this vasoconstriction, it try to increase the preload and afterload. Understand? So when the vasoconstrictions occurs, the vessels are constricted. It increases the pressure. So that's why that's how the cardiovascular system active uh, just respond to this particular situations. There is one exception: in the sepsis conditions, this vasoconstriction is not happening, vasodilation is there, but this tachycardia is there. What happens to these respiratory systems? As we know, due to accumulation of the lactic acids, the metabolic acidosis is developed. So that metabolic acidosis and increased sympathetic response due to the increase secrete catecholamine, the lungs starts increase its ventilations, means there is a respiratory rate is increases, and the ventilation become tiny, means the breath become short, and short breath and increase in numbers. To compensate that hypoxic condition to the tissue, to give more oxygen to the tissue, the respiratory rate increases, but the respiration become shallow, tiny. That leads to increase the excretion of the carbon dioxide. because of repetitive respiration, increase carbon dioxide. So that produces the compensatory alkalosis against to the metabolic acidosis. So that's how the our respiratory system responds. Then the renal system, how our renal system is responding. When the tissue perfusion decreases in the kidneys, as either afterload or the means when the this preload decreases, then afterload also will decrease. So when the afterload decreases means the systemic blood supply to the tissue, to that kidneys, particular kidneys, is decreased. So that reduces the filtration at the glomerulus because less pressure and the less blood. So that resulting in the decrease in the urine output, and that increases that just activated the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone axis. There is a three hormones which are just in core just coordinate with each others. So when this activated, this system, this renin, angiotensin, aldosterone axis is accumulated. This what happening after this, that result in the further vasoconstrictions and increase in the sodium and water reabsorption from the kidney, and whatever the urine is body excreting, body again take more sodium and water from that, means reabsorption. Kidney increases the reabsorption absorption of these sodium and water to just elevate the circulatory volume, to just maintain the circulatory volume, just so this is our response of the renal system to that in particular condition, that kidney is starting reabsorption of the sodium and water. Then the endocrine systems, as well as activation of the adrenal, that renin, angiotensin, and aldosterone, that access, this vasopressin is released from the hypothalamus. Vasopressin is also called as antidiuretic hormones. Antidiuretic hormones means normally this is not released. Normally our body has the limited circulatory volume, and excess volume is excreted through the kidneys. But when we have less volume, then bodies try to conserve the circulatory volume, so it starts secreting antidiuretic hormones. So these antidiuretic hormones cause the vasoconstriction in the renal cells, the renal system, as well as starting the reabsorption of the water from this renal collecting system. Now the urine become more concentrated because excess water and sodium is reabsorbed by the kidneys. At the same time, that adrenal gland secretes this cortisols, and so that increases the that activates the cells to sensitize that try to that secretion of this cortisol from the adrenal. It's contribute to the sodium and water reabsorptions and sensitize our cells toward the catecholamine, because if cells are not sensitized to the catecholamine, so the sympathetic system will not activate. So that is the responsibility of this adrenal gland to alarm our body tissue, our systems, to desensitize towards the catecholamine. That catecholamine is released, it means the body is going into the hypoxic conditions. So these four important systems, uh, their response, how we have discussed how they respond toward this hypoxic conditions, to shock conditions. Now the classification of the shock. So in the different books there is so many kind of the classification is given, so many type of the shocks are mentioned, but on the basis of the mechanism there are only 5 types. So we are discussing here only 5 types of the shocks. All other shocks are comes under these five categories. So first and foremost, that is the hypovolemic shock. Hypovolemic shock, hypo, it's the name itself mention hypovolemic means the circulatory volume, the blood is
blood
less.
decrease.
So the circulatory volume is reduced. So that can be reduced by the direct loss of the blood, means hemorrhagic, when the body is direct losing the blood. Either non-hemorrhagic means the body is not losing the blood, but body fluids is lost through dehydrations, excessive fluid loss through diarrhea, through vomiting, through excessive urine, or sometime the fluid in the third space. Third space means some fluid is exudated in our body, that is either not cellular, not circulatory, not it's cellular. Means the cells have exudates this fluid in a third space. Means just like in the abdominal cavity, due to this and sometime due to the intestinal obstruction, suppose a closed loop obstruction is there, so that due to the obstruction of that closed loop, it causes the inflammation of the bowel. So due to the inflammation of the bowel, it secretes so much, exudates so much fluids, that fluid collects in the abdominal cavity. So that is not circulatory volume, so that may cause the non-hemorrhagic shock, non-hemorrhagic hypovolemic shock. Or in case of the acute pancreatitis, due to the inflammation, acute inflammation of the pancreas, there is so much fluid so much exudation developed, and that fluid is accumulated in the abdominal cavity. So that fluid is not in the circulatory system, so that causes the hypovolemia. So that is a non-hemorrhagic hypovolemia. uh, Hypovolemic shock is the most important shock, because you must know the pathophysiology, because in all kind of the shock, somehow there must be some kind of the hypovolemia developed, because we are just discussing the preload and the afterload decreases. Whenever the preload and afterload is decreases, then some kind of the hypovolemia must be involved in all kind of the shocks, in somehow, in some amount. Understand? Means the main pathology may be something else, but hypovolemia is also there. So hypovolemia due to these hemorrhagic or non-hemorrhagic conditions, that causes the hypovolemic shock, and this is the most important and most common shock. Next, the cardiogenic shocks. So the cardiogenic shock develops due to the failure of the heart. Means heart is not enough working to give the blood to circulatory volume to through all the tissue. So that is shock caused by the cardiogenic shocks. The causes behind that may be the direct injury to the heart, any type of the blunt or sharp trauma to the heart, any kind of the cardiomyopathies, any infections, endocarditis, or any kind of the myocardial infarctions, any kind of the cardiac dysarrhythmias, or any vascular heart diseases. Due to this valvular heart disease, that heart is not competent to force the circulatory volume throughout the body. So these conditions these conditions are causing the cardiogenic shock. That cardiac insufficiency, that this cardiac insufficiency means the heart is not sufficient to pump the blood. So that may be also caused by the cardiac depression, myocardial depressions, resulting from the endogenous factor, means when the inside heart something is going on, so that is not able to force the blood. Or some exogenic factor, means some factor which affect the heart, function of the heart from outside.